The sound of scissors can hurt more than a scream. Today, Emily opens her heart about the day her mother tried to forcibly cut her identity. A shocking true story about surviving one's own family.
The metallic rasp of sewing scissors slicing through fabric still echoes in my nightmares, louder than any scream of anger my mother ever unleashed. I wasn't just watching my clothes being destroyed, I was watching the woman who gave me life meticulously shred who I was, piece by piece, without shedding a single tear. It was there, in that freezing bedroom in the suburbs of Seattle, that I learned the most painful lesson of my life. Sometimes, hate disguises itself as maternal correction. I thought I knew what pain was, but standing in that doorway, paralyzed by the sight of her, I realized I was only witnessing the prologue of my punishment. It was a Tuesday in November, the kind of gray, wet afternoon that swallows the light in the Pacific Northwest. The rain had been hammering against the roof all day, a relentless rhythm that usually calmed me down, but that day, it felt like a warning. My name is Emily, and at 19 years old, I was living two lives. Outside, I was the quiet, obedient daughter Margaret showed off at Sunday service, the girl in the pastel cardigans and modest skirts. But inside the walls of my mind, and hidden beneath the floorboards of my closet, was the real me. I had a stash of flannel shirts, oversized denim, and a few beanies I had bought with lunch money I saved up for months. They weren't just clothes, they were my oxygen. They were the only things that made me feel like I wasn't wearing a costume. I remember walking up the stairs that evening. The house was too quiet. Usually, I could hear the TV humming or the sound of pots clanging in the kitchen, but the silence was heavy, thick enough to choke on. When I reached the top of the landing, I saw it. The door to my bedroom was wide open. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I knew I had closed it. I always closed it. I walked in, and time seemed to stop. My room, usually my sanctuary, looked like a crime scene. My drawers were pulled out, their contents dumped onto the floor. And there, sitting on the edge of my bed with her back straight and her posture perfect, was Margaret. She wasn't crying. She wasn't yelling. She was terrifyingly calm. In her lap lay my favorite plaid shirt, the one I wore the first time I felt brave enough to look at myself in a mirror and actually smile. In her right hand, she held her heavy, silver sewing shears. The light from the hallway caught the blade, making it gleam. "I found your stash, Emily," she said. Her voice was soft, conversational, as if she were commenting on the weather. "I assume these are the rags you wear when you're pretending not to be my daughter." Before I could speak, before I could beg or explain, she closed the scissors. Snip. The sound was wet and crunchy. She cut the collar off the shirt. Then the sleeves. She didn't look at me, she looked at the fabric with a mix of disgust and surgical precision. I wanted to move, to stop her, but my feet were lead. I watched as she picked up a graphic tee I loved, one with a band logo on it, and drove the point of the scissors right through the center. "We don't allow costumes in this house," she murmured, tossing the shredded remains onto the floor. "God gave you a form, Emily. Disguising it is a sin. I am doing this because I love you. I am purging the sickness from your room." It's hard to explain the specific type of heartbreak that comes from watching your identity be treated like garbage by the person who is supposed to protect you. It makes you feel small, invisible, and utterly alone. I know I'm not the only one who has felt this coldness. I need to know I'm not screaming into the void right now. If you are listening to this, please, tell me in the comments where you are watching from, what city, what country. And if you have ever felt like you had to wear a mask just to survive your own family, please hit the like button and subscribe. We need to find each other. We need to show the world that we exist, even when they try to cut us out. I stood there for what felt like hours, tears finally spilling over my cheeks, hot and stinging. the pile of rags on the floor grew higher. My flannel shirts, my dark jeans, everything that made me feel safe was now just scraps of cotton and denim. When the last piece fell from her hand, the room went silent again. The only sound was my jagged breathing. I looked at the pile, thinking it was over. I thought the lesson was finished. I thought I had paid the price. But then, Margaret stood up. She didn't put the scissors down. She brushed the lint from her skirt and finally turned to face me. Her eyes traveled up from the floor, past my trembling hands, past my tear-stained face, and locked onto my hair. It was a bob cut, short enough to be practical but long enough to hide behind. She took a step toward me, the metal blades of the scissors opening and closing with a rhythmic click-clack. "You still don't look like a daughter," she whispered, tilting her head. "The clothes were just the shell, Emily. The problem is deeper." She raised the scissors to my eye level. "If you want to look like a boy, let's make sure you do it properly." I squeezed my eyes shut, my body rigid, waiting for the sting of the blade against my skin. But Margaret didn't stab me. Instead, I felt the cold, flat steel of the shears press against the back of my neck. It was ice against fever. Then came the sound, a wet, crunching snip right next to my ear. I felt a weight vanish from the left side of my head. A large lock of my dark hair fell to the floor, landing softly on top of the shredded remains of my flannel shirt. I didn't scream. I couldn't. It felt like all the air had been sucked out of the room, leaving only the sound of her heavy breathing and the relentless click of the scissors. She wasn't cutting my hair, she was hacking at it. She grabbed fistfuls of it, pulling tight until my scalp burned, and then severed it close to the root. There was no style, no plan. It was an act of erasure. "You want to look like a boy?" she grunted, the exertion making her voice tremble. Snip. Another chunk fell, sliding down my shoulder. "Then let's stop pretending. Let's show everyone the ugliness you're hiding inside." I opened my eyes, staring at my reflection in the vanity mirror. The girl staring back at me looked like a stranger. My hair, which I had spent months growing out to hide my face, was now a jagged, uneven mess. Patches of my scalp were visible, pale and vulnerable. It didn't look like a haircut, it looked like I had been in a fight. It looked like an assault. And in the mirror, hovering behind me, was my mother. Her face wasn't twisted in rage anymore. It was blank. Efficient. Like she was pruning a diseased branch from a prize rosebush. "Please, Mom," I whispered, the words choking me. "Stop. Please." She paused, holding a final lock of hair at my crown. She met my eyes in the reflection. "Don't call me that," she said, her voice devoid of warmth. "A mother raises a daughter. I don't know what this is." She sliced the last piece. It fell onto my lap like a dead spider. She stepped back, surveying her work. The floor was a mosaic of destruction, strips of denim, buttons, collars, and mounds of black hair. It looked like a bomb had gone off in a thrift store. My head felt light, phantom sensations tickling my neck where hair used to be. I felt naked. Exposed. "Clean this up," she said, wiping the scissor blades on her skirt. "Burn the clothes. Sweep up the hair. And Emily? Don't you dare put a hat on. If you are ashamed of who you are, you sit in that shame. You wear it." She walked out of the room, leaving the door wide open. The hallway light spilled in, casting long, distorted shadows across the wreckage. I didn't move for a long time. I couldn't touch the hair on the floor, it felt like touching a part of my own body that had been amputated. Eventually, the cold seeped into my bones. I didn't have any clothes left to put on, just the oversized t-shirt I was wearing, which now felt too big for my shorn head. I couldn't sleep in my bed. The bed belonged to the good daughter, the girl with the bob cut and the pastel sweaters. That girl didn't exist anymore. She died the moment the scissors touched my scalp. So, I curled up on the floor, right there in the middle of the chaos. I gathered the shreds of my favorite flannel shirts, the ones she had destroyed, and pulled them over me like a blanket. They smelled like the closet, like secrets, like safety. I slept on a bed of rags and hair, shivering not from the temperature, but from the hollow ache in my chest. I drifted into a fitful sleep, dreaming of the sound of metal snapping shut. But the relief of unconsciousness didn't last long. I woke up with a start. The room was bright. Sunlight, cruel and revealing, was streaming through the window. For a second, I forgot. Then I moved my head, and the lightness, the lack of hair brushing my neck, brought the horror rushing back. I heard heavy footsteps on the stairs. Not the light, tapping steps of my mother. These were heavy boots. The floorboards groaned under the weight. My stomach twisted into a knot. I scrambled to my feet, clutching the torn fabric to my chest, trying to cover myself. The doorway darkened. It wasn't my mother. Standing there, filling the frame, was my father. He had been away on a business trip for 3 days. I had forgotten he was coming back this morning. He looked at the floor. He looked at the hair. He looked at me, shivering and shorn like a prisoner of war. I waited for him to yell, to ask what happened, to save me. But he didn't look at me with pity. He looked at me with something far worse, complete, cold indifference. He held up a set of car keys. "Your mother told me you're ready," he said, his voice flat. "Get in the car. We're going to the church picnic. And you're going exactly as you are." The car ride to the park was silent, a suffocating vacuum where the only sound was the tires humming against the wet asphalt. I sat in the back seat, catching glimpses of my father's stoic eyes in the rearview mirror. He didn't turn on the radio. He didn't need to. The message was loud and clear: I was being paraded. They were taking me to the community picnic not to include me, but to make an example of me. They wanted the congregation to see the problem child, the jagged mess of a girl who refused to be a lady. They expected me to shrink. They expected me to pull my hood up, to cry, to beg to stay in the car. When we pulled into the gravel lot, the park was already full. I could see the pastel tablecloths, the balloons, the families perfectly coordinated in their Sunday best. My mother opened her door and stepped out, smoothing her skirt. She walked around to my side and yanked the door open. "Chin up, Emily," she hissed, her voice dripping with poisonous sweetness. "Let everyone see what you've chosen to become." I stepped out. The air was crisp, biting against my exposed neck. For the first time in years, there was no hair to shield me from the wind. I felt naked. Vulnerable. As we walked toward the pavilion, the chatter died down. One by one, heads turned. Mrs. Gable stopped mid-sentence. The youth pastor's smile faltered. I could feel their eyes crawling over my scalp, judging the uneven tufts, the patches where the scissors had bitten too close to the skin. My mother walked a step ahead, radiating a martyr's grace, as if my appearance was a cross she was bravely bearing. I wanted to run. My instinct was to cover my head with my hands and sprint into the woods. But then, something strange happened. A breeze rolled off the lake, cold and sharp. It hit the back of my neck, that spot that had been hidden for 19 years. It didn't feel like shame. It felt electric. It felt like waking up. I took a deep breath, and the air filled my lungs, cleaner than it had ever been in that stuffy house. I looked at my reflection in the side of a polished truck parked nearby. I didn't see a victim. I saw a survivor. The hair was choppy, yes. Violent, yes. But it was also fierce. It looked like a battle scar. It looked like me. I stopped walking. My parents continued a few paces before realizing I wasn't following. My father turned, his brow furrowed. "Emily, come here," he commanded, expecting the usual submission. I didn't move. I lifted my chin, just like my mother had told me to, but not for her. I did it for me. I looked directly at Mrs. Gable. I looked at the youth pastor. I looked at the kids whispering by the swings. I let them look. Look at me, I thought. Look at what they did. And look at me standing here, still breathing. And then, I saw her. Sitting on a picnic bench near the edge of the crowd was a girl named Sarah. I knew her vaguely. She was the quiet girl who worked at the library. She was wearing a simple denim jacket and reading a book, ignoring the sermon being prepped on the stage. She looked up when the silence stretched too long. Her eyes landed on me. She took in the shorn hair, the defiant posture, the parents fuming a few feet away. She didn't gasp. She didn't frown. Slowly, deliberately, a smile spread across her face. It wasn't a mocking smile. It was a smile of recognition. She raised her hand and gave me a tiny, subtle thumbs up. In that microsecond, the weight of the world shattered. I wasn't a monster. I wasn't alone. I was just a girl who had survived a war in her own bedroom. I walked past my parents. I didn't stop at their table. I walked straight to the food line, grabbed a plate, and piled it high. I sat down on the grass, right in the center of the field, under the open sky. The sun broke through the clouds, warming my scalp. It was the most beautiful sensation I had ever felt. My mother stood by the pavilion, stiff as a statue, realizing her plan had backfired. She wanted to display my shame, but she had accidentally displayed my courage. I didn't leave home that night. I didn't have the money yet. But the dynamic had shifted forever. That night, I packed my bag properly. I started saving every penny. 3 months later, I bought a bus ticket to Portland. But the real departure happened right there at the picnic. That was the moment I realized they could cut my hair, they could burn my clothes, but they couldn't cut me. Today, I own a bookstore in a city where the rain feels like a blessing, not a warning. My hair is still short, by choice now, and dyed a brilliant, defiant silver. I wear flannel every single day. And every time I catch my reflection, I don't see the girl who lost her hair. I see the woman who found her freedom. Thank you for listening to my story. It took me years to find the voice to tell it. If this story touched something inside you, if it gave you even a spark of hope, please share this video with someone who might need to hear it. You never know who is trapped in a quiet house, waiting for a sign. And if you found your own freedom, tell me your victory story in the comments below. I read every single one. You are beautiful, you are valid, and you are stronger than you think. See you in the next video.